Hi, it's Kassy, and today we are going to make a card using some beautiful Sizzix products. This is going to be a mixed media card. I've got a lot of fun tools and supplies here, and we're going to walk through how to use them. I have the new Stamp & Stencil platform here that I'm going to show you how to use. I'm very excited about this. So we're going to start with this layered stencil pack. It's got 4 stencils in it, and it's really nice. It has them in order, and it's set up to use with this tool. This one is called Geo Flowers, and I just really like that pattern there. So we're gonna have some fun with this stencil pack. Okay, so to use this tool, we are going to, so it's good for stamping. So it's got the stamping platform lid here, and you put your stamp on here so you can stamp multiple times, and we will get there. It also has a hinged lid that comes off, as you can see here. And so I'm going to set that aside because I don't need it for right now. Right now we're going to use just the base to use with the stencils so we can line things up correctly and get some really awesome stenciled images. So I've already applied this sticky mat that comes with it. They also sell, they're called sticky grid sheets. I'll show you the pack here. They also sell them separately, so when this one isn't sticky anymore, you could just peel it up and put a new one down, which I think is really fantastic. Makes using this tool really, really simple. And then there are 2 little pegs at the top here, okay? And so it also comes with this tool. This is like the stencil placement tool, and there are these 4 rectangles here, depending on how big your stencil is, where you want it to be in your platform. So I'm just going to go here, let's see, let's go right about there, and you'll notice on this on this piece there are 2 pegs right here. Okay, so that is where your stencil is going to sit, right in those pegs and line up and lay down like that. Okay, so each layer of the stencil will be in exactly the right place. All right, so this is stencil number 1 from the Geo Flowers. I am actually going to put this down, but we're not going to use it first just yet because we're going to use the stencil in a slightly different way. But I need to have the paper placement be right because this is a 6x6 stencil area, and the paper I'm using for the top of my card is 5x5. So it doesn't quite cover this entire space, but I want to make sure that I get the flowers and the geometric shape and all of that exactly where I want it to be on the front of my card. So I'm going to line this up, and I want it to be about there, and then I'm going to line it up on the grid so that I know it's straight up and down. Let me take this off. That's about where I want it to be, but I want to make sure that this line up here is right. So I've got a nice straight pattern going onto the card. This is a really nice grid because of that, because you can really get stuff lined up nice and easy. So now I'm just kind of rubbing down. This is a light grip mat so that it's not going to tear your paper or anything. I'm just going to put this back down so now I can see. So my flower is going to be here. I've got this nice grid pattern around it. I've this little space at the top, so it's perfectly lined up for me. So now I'm going to put this stencil off to the side, and we're going to use it last. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is then take stencil number 2, and they're all etched at the top with the number that they are. So when we put these down, we're going to be working from the base up. So you generally want to start with a lighter color and move our way up. Okay, so I'm going to stick this down, make sure the stencil is not going to go anywhere. I've got my handy tool here for blending ink. And since we're starting with the lightest color, I've got some Catherine Pooler ink here that I'm going to use. These are the 3 colors I'll be using to blend this flower out. And so since we're starting with the base here, I'm going to start with the lightest color, which will be It's a Boy. And I'm just going to pick up some of the ink on my blending tool, and we're just going to rub in a circle all around. Ooh, this is really pretty. Really pretty. And when you're running out of ink, you just reload. I like to go around in a circle so I don't get any hard lines. Okay, that's a pretty deep color there, even for this bright color here, and it looks great. And I'm also working, I forgot to mention, but I am working on ivory Sizzix cardstock. Okay, so then I'm going to lift this stencil up and move on to number 3. So this is stencil number 3. It's etched at the top, and you can see it's just a little bit more detail. Okay, I'm going to line it up on the pegs and stick it down onto my sticky grid mat. All right, and so you can see it lines up perfectly with the edges of the previous stencil. And now I'm going to move to purple, and so I've got this Serenade color, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to use the same tool here because I'm going into darker colors, and it will be just fine. But again, I'm just swirling. And it's building on the color that is underneath. So just remember that too when you are doing a layered stencil like this. The colors are going to layer up on top of each other. Okay, so now we're done with that layer. So easy and quick. You could really do assembly line of cards like this. Look at how pretty that is already. Oh, I'm loving it so much. Really, really gorgeous. Okay, so now we're going to move to stencil number 4. And again, you see we haven't moved anything, so everything is just going to line up perfectly. Get those pegs onto the stencil and press it down on the sides so that you have nice, nicely held in place. And now we're going to bring in some really deep contrast here with the drive-in. Okay, this is the darkest purple we'll be using on this card. And again, just using the same sponge here. They're all cool colors, so no big deal. And if you go in a swirling motion too, it really works nicely. You don't get any lines, and it doesn't catch on the edge of any of the stencils. Okay, lifting it up, let's see what we get. Wow, look at how pretty. It almost looks watercolor. That's really, really beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to leave this in place. Okay, I'm done with the ink blending, but what I am going to do is come back to stencil number 1 and do this part last. Okay, and so what's going to happen now, we put it on the pegs, we line it all up, it's covering around the flower that we made, and instead of doing ink blending around this, through this geometric part of the stencil, I'm going to use some dimensional paste and my palette knife, and we are going to add some dimension to this card. I'm super excited about this. I love mixed media and card making, and I love it when we can combine some of the techniques together between card making and mixed media and just make something really cool and take it up to the next level. So we've just got some really creamy modeling paste here. You can see we're just going to pick some up with our palette knife, just like you're spreading icing on a cake. Okay, so you're going to get your knife, you're going to pick up some of the icing, and then we're just going to spread it through the stencil, and we're going to rub it over the top of the stencil and make sure the paste gets in all the cracks. And we're just going to run it right over the edge, and you just keep going until you have coverage everywhere. And because this mat is sticky, it's not going to move at all. It's not going to make a mess or anything. Everything is contained on this mat. All right, and then we're just nicely going over every last little crevice there, making sure we get good coverage. And when you're done, you just put the excess back into the tub there, into the little pot. I'm making sure I don't have any extra over the top. I missed a little corner up here, so I'm just going to grab a little bit more paste, okay, and then flatten it out. The reason I'm making sure it's nice and flat here too is to make sure that it's not too thick so that it doesn't take a long time to dry. If you put a nice thin, even coat on on this paper, it will dry fairly quickly, and then you can move on to the next step. Okay, so now we're done. We are just going to lift this off the pegboard. Do it carefully, and then lift your stencil off. Oh my gosh, we have some really cool texture here. So I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll move on to assembling the card. Okay, so now this is dry. Can you see this awesome texture here? And how it adds just a fun bit of dimension to your card. And look at how those the flowers look kind of watercolor painted on that cardstock. Very, very cool. Okay, so we're gonna stamp the sentiment. So I've got this stamp set here. And it has just a bunch of different sentiments here, which are really, really beautiful. Lovely fonts from Sizzix. And we are going to use the stamp that says Collect Beautiful Moments. Okay, and we're going to put it on this piece of matte Duralar here. It's just a strip of matte Duralar. Kind of looks like a vellum, but you can stamp on it and do cool things. And we are going to use the stamping platform here from Sizzix to make sure everything's lined up right and it's nice and straight and it's good to go. So I've got the lid back on here and we're opening that. And we've got our sticky grid here. And now I'm going to lay this down for a minute because I want to get an idea. Just set that down like that, just for a minute here. I want to get an idea of where I am going to stamp this sentiment. Okay, I want it to be kind of off to the side here. I want it to overlap a little bit with the flower, but not too much. Okay, and I like it right here. So now what I want to do is lift this whole thing because we don't really need this part to be stuck down. We only need this, okay? And I can even put it up higher. And I'm just going to line this up. Now it's already where it needs to be, so it doesn't really need to be all that straight or anything because we've got the right placement for the stamp, okay? So now I'm going to put the platform down to pick up that stamp. All right, so now everything is exactly in place where it needs to be. I'm going to move this out of the way so I can go sideways here and keep this all in the frame for you. I'm going to use some StazOn ink in jet black, and I'm just going to ink up my stamp. Okay, here we go. And we're going to go first round here. And I'm not pressing too hard, just pressing lightly. I don't have to worry if it's actually been fully stamped, which it hasn't. I think part of that is because I'm not laying flat, because I'm on this mat here. So let's lay this flat. But it's okay because I've got the platform. So we can just ink it up again and stamp it down again until we're happy with the stamping. All right, try again. It's still missing a little bit, so I'm just going to go over it one more time, making sure I'm inking up each time so that we get really good coverage. Okay, so now we have a great stamped image, and we can gently peel this up. That looks so pretty. It's going to look really great on top of those flowers. Okay, now we are ready to put the card together. So I've got a few different layers here of Sizzix paper. I've got some textured paper and some of the matte metallic. This is in the gray. Really, really pretty. So I'm just going to start from the back and work my way forward. So we're going to just use some double-sided adhesive. Whatever you have will work. And we're just taping down each of these layers, making sure they're nice and even. I did alternate the width of these. So some are, you know, a little over 1/8 of an inch border, just so you have a nice thin frame around it, and some are a little over 1/16 of an inch. So we have a really nice frame for this pretty watercolor card. So I've got the matte metallic gray, and then I have a darker green and a lighter green. And you notice this matte size is a little bit different. And then we're going to put the beautiful textured mixed media piece on top. And I am going to put the adhesive onto this base. Put a little extra. And then we will line this up. All right, and then to stick this down, I'm using the Express glue again, and I'm just going to put a thin ribbon of glue here on either end. And when it dries, it will be nice and clear, so you won't even see it. Just a nice thin ribbon. On either side is plenty of adhesive, and then set it down where you want it. I want it near the bottom, but not all the way at the bottom. And then I'm just going to gently press. Ooh, look at how pretty that is. Adds just a real nice softness to that part of the card as well. So I just want to add a little bit of bling to this card before we finish. And I've got some little hearts here. You can see different sizes. So we're going to use the Express glue. This works really, really well for adding sequins or any kind of dimension like this to your project. I'm also using the tool picker here to pick up these little pieces of sequins or confetti and put some down. See, that adds just a tiny little touch of something extra. They're really small hearts, but they're super cute. Okay, now this whole card front is going to go on the base. This is also ivory cardstock, and it is just about 5.5 inches squared. And we're going to have the card open off to the side. I always like to double check that because I can't tell you how many times I have put the card front on upside down. So I just like to make sure I'm opening the right way and give it a good press. And there we are. Beautiful, simple really, card with just a little extra dimension and love there to give it a little something special. I hope you enjoyed this project today and found some inspiration. Please visit Sizzix.com for more information and have a great day. Bye.